Well, it seemed like only a matter of time before the Maple Leafs made some kind of deal after another playoff exit. Chris Johnston, we now know that deal is moving Kasperi Kapanen back to the Pittsburgh Penguins. I ask you, when you saw the news, when you saw the pieces of the trade, this was the first thing that came to your mind. What was your reaction to the deal on the Leafs end?
Well, that was quick. That was my reaction. I know it's been a couple weeks now since the Leafs were beat out, but sometimes these trades take a little longer to materialize. I mean, we still have the second round of the playoffs going on right now, but clearly in Pittsburgh and Toronto, you had two franchises that were disappointed with their finish, with not getting through the qualifying round. I think they were highly motivated to start remaking their team, and this was the kind of move that we thought the Leafs might have done at the February trade deadline, and I don't think they could put it off any longer, just simply with some of the cap issues they're going to have with wanting, I believe, a little bit more money to spend on their blue line. One of their middle six forwards had to go, and Kasperi Kapanen's a pretty valuable player and someone obviously the Penguins thought highly of, because Toronto got a decent prospect in this deal and a first-round pick.
You mentioned Kapanen's value. Just why was he the one that was expendable for the Leafs?
Well, I do think that he's a luxury for them. I mean, look, he's a right-shot winger on a team that has William Nylander and Mitch Marner playing ahead of him that are also those things. I mean, he was a luxury for Toronto. Not a lot of teams have that kind of guy that they can put on their third line. But I think at some point you get to the stage where he might be underutilized in that position. He's not, ever really going to play in Toronto's top six unless they're dealing with some injury issues. And so as a result of that, I just think there's too many teams around the league like Pittsburgh that were looking for, a scoring winger that they can play with high impact players and have some thought that maybe his best years are still ahead of him as an NHLer. So, I think for Toronto, they only have so many pieces to play. I don't believe they're going to trade any of their, what we might call core forwards. And so, it was bound to come from this next grouping. And I think of him, Andreas Johnsson, Alex Kerfoot, it was Kapanen that had the most value. And it was important for the Leafs to get a first-round pick and important to clear up that cap space to address some other issues here heading into the offseason.
We'll get to those other issues in that cap space in just a few moments. But first, are you surprised at the price that the Penguins paid for Kasperi Kapanen?
I was a little surprised, and I think it is just due to the fact, look, Jim Rutherford, their general manager, is probably the least afraid to trade in the entire league. I mean, he has the confidence of 3 Stanley Cups. I think he also has the confidence of a short window here where he can count on Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin still being, two of the better players in the league. And so, he was a motivated buyer in this case. I think that's, partly explains why you got to this price. And, from Toronto's end, they didn't have to be Kapanen. They didn't have to move this player. And so I think that's where they established this. I do know Toronto spoke with other teams about Kapanen during this process. They were asking those teams for a first-round pick and a prospect, which is essentially what they got out of this deal from Pittsburgh. There were some other fringe, players tied to what went down here. But, I do think that just because there's not a lot of what Kapanen does. I mean, the Penguins plan to play him with Sidney Crosby, at least to start. There's only so many wingers around the league that they would target that would be moved that they could put in that spot. And so, the fact they're willing to give up the 15th overall pick in the draft, plus a decent prospect in Philip Hallander, I think that was just too good of an offer for the Leafs to pass up.
So the Leafs get a first-round pick back. They clear up some much-needed cap space. What's next? Is this just the one move that we're going to see, or do you think this is going to open up space for them to make more moves and maybe use that first overall pick, or do you expect them to actually draft with that pick?
I would expect that they'll draft with the pick just because they don't own their own first rounder. It was traded away in the Patrick Marleau deal to Carolina last year. And so, I think it's important for the Leafs to continue adding some decent prospects to their own pipeline, to have another wave of players, behind their young core. And what this trade does is it frees up that cap space. It gives them flexibility now. I think that the Leafs will be fairly active in trying to find some options in free agency. I could certainly see them making other trades. And I would think that you're going to see them invest some of this cap space now in remaking the blue line. Remember, Cody Ceci and Tyson Barrie are both unrestricted free agents. I don't think either will likely be back in Toronto. So they're going to have to find some other players to fill in there. And I don't think that there's just one route to do it. I know that the Leafs, think this is going to be a strange offseason with, the COVID-19 pause leading to a flat salary cap with some uncertainty with team budgets around the league. We might see some different kind of players traded this offseason. And I think, the Leafs wanted to have flexibility to be able to get in on some of those conversations if that materializes. And that's, again, going back to the timing, why I think this is important for them to clear this cap space now and know entering, what's still the offseason with teams still playing, that they're going to have money, more money than they would have originally thought to play with.
And Maple Leaf fans always, and especially now after seeing this deal and seeing some cap space open up, say, let's get a defenseman. Let's go out there and make a big move. Finally get the D-man that we need so bad. So I'm going to put you on the spot. You can get mad at me for it after. But who's a target out there? Throw some names. Let's get some speculation floating around Leafs Nation. If you're Kyle Dubas, who are you looking at on the blue line that you can acquire, that is available? It can be unrealistic. It can be realistic. Just let's start throwing some stuff against the wall here, CJ.
Well, let's get a headline then. I mean, look, Alex Pietrangelo could become an unrestricted free agent. And, the Leafs still would need to make other moves, in my estimation, to have the cap space in order to sign him. But they got a little bit closer to being able to try and do that anyway. And at this stage, I do think, as Elliot Friedman reported on Headlines last Saturday, it's likely Pietrangelo remains a Blue. I think that's where his heart is, still in St. Louis. But, there's no guarantees with the Blues cap situation that they're going to be able to afford him. And so, I think that you might as well start there and go down the list. I mean, he's the exact type of player I do think in concept that the Leafs could really use, just a stabilizing, absolute number one defenseman, happens to shoot right as well, which is, a bit of an organizational need for the Leafs among their blue liners. But, if it's not him, there will be other guys either on the trade market or in free agency that they can go after. And I think the important thing is probably even Kyle Dubas doesn't know at this point, but he does know that he's got a little bit more money to get into those types of conversations and to, try to remake the blue line. It might not end up being anyone near as high impact as Pietrangelo, but I do think that there's a desire maybe to reshape how that top six looks.
Chris, thank you for doing this. And Maple Leafs fans, I urge you to go on Twitter. @ReporterChris is his handle. He loves crazy trade theories. Just fire them at them all day long, all night. Send your speculation and rumors and reports to him. He loves it. Chris, thanks for doing this.
I've got a long memory, Mac. I'm going to get you back.